we're going to get started. It's easier to talk when I stand up because otherwise some people are sitting behind me. First of all, thanks everybody for attending. I hope your DrupalCon is going well so far. I personally have only heard great things, so kudos to the staff for putting on a great DrupalCon so far. Let's see. First of all, let's make sure we have quorum, which I believe we do. Looking around the room, we're missing anyone.
Sorry, Samir.
That's right. And Mike, you'll take the minutes. Awesome. So let's keep going. So we have a good agenda. Going to give you some operational updates, and we're also going to give an update from the governance committee, and then we'll also make sure to leave some time for Q&A. But before we get started, I wanted to give you an update about some bylaw changes that we plan to make. So the context of these changes is some of the governance work that we have been doing. And so, as you know, we hired Whitney to interview different members of the community, do a survey, to do these kinds of things. And one of the things that came out loud and clear is that the community would love to have a chairman that is independent. And so one of the things I've decided to do is to step down from the chairman role. Doesn't mean I'm stepping down as a project lead. This is specific to my role at the Drupal Association. I will continue to lead the Drupal project from a technical point of view and sort of the initiatives and all of those things. And so we all talked about this as a group, and we think it's a good idea to make this change. Now, a couple of things need to happen in order to make this change. Currently, my role is a little bit special on the board, in that I'm a founder seat, let's say. And in addition to that, technically I'm the president, not the chairman. And so the president is actually able to sign legal documents and these kinds of things. And so one of the bylaw changes that we would like to make is to actually create sort of the chairman role, which we currently don't have officially. In addition to that, as a board, we would like to make Adam Goodman the interim chair of the board. So Adam has a long history actually with the Drupal Association. He's been helping us since 2007, maybe? 2011. 2011, all right. Not that long, but still very long.
5 years.
He's an independent individual. He's actually a professor in leadership. And we believe he would be a great solution until we find a more permanent chairman for the Drupal Association. So, in order to do that, though, we would need to pay Adam. And so, one other bylaw change that we need to make is to allow for Adam to be paid, because the bylaw says none of the board members can get paid or compensated. So, in addition to that, we have to do some other housekeeping on the bylaws as well. And so this is just a heads up that this is something that we're going to work on. And obviously we'll talk more about that in future board meetings. We just didn't want to surprise anyone with those things. I think if there's anything else about the bylaws. Yeah, actually, one other example of something that we want to fix is how we do offline voting, as an example. Right, so you'll see a set of bylaw changes just to make things more modern and up to date, and as well as to fulfill some of these needs. So maybe I'll pause here and see if there's any questions. Angie.
The bylaw changes around paying the board member. Is that specifically for the person chair, or is that?
Yes, that's our thinking. We're not all gonna get compensation.
Yeah.
In meetings.
I'm assuming that means you'll still be participating in the board, you just don't have that role, correct?
Good question. So my goal is to stay on the board, so to keep my founder seat, but just not to be the chair. So that's an important clarification. The reason is because I want to help provide stability to the organization as well, and I think that can help the board in unique ways. So I'd like to keep doing that. Any other questions on that? Awesome. Cool. Next up is approving the minutes, I believe. I don't know, Mike, if there's anything you want to say before.
Ryan,
These are the June 28 minutes, right?
Ryan's like, thanks.
So this was a comfortable meeting on June 28th. I was late for this, and I'm not going to Ryan's minutes. There are additional board packet. This was discussion on the industry pages that maybe presented yesterday. We have an overview of Baltimore, and then we had an update from what he has around the governance meeting for the whole of Baltimore, and then an update from the finance group, the summit around just an overview. Excuse me. Any questions on these? Otherwise, we'll move to approve.
Right, let's say about me at the end.
No, it said,
You moved to the set Any questions there? Questions? Okay, so motion to approve the comparable minutes from the 28th of June.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? I can't type as fast as you can. You can do it.
There's a few grammar errors that I typed that made it in there, so you know, ignore those.
Check. Perfect.
So I call in favor of nobody opposed. That's fine. Correct.
All right, thank you. I'll
Okay.
pass it on to Megan.
perfect.
Sorry, it's the shortest board ever at the last one. My line is big.
All right, can we all get dressed up for his service?
Did you see your name on the presentation?
Yeah, brilliant.
Good job, Rachel. All right, hello, welcome. I just wanted to give a quick update, providing a little context. Not everyone has attended a board meeting or looked at our board packet, so I just wanted to give a quick overview. So we have a board packet that has our agenda, but also it explains who's on each committee. And we have committee updates, as well as an executive summary that just talks about what's happened over since the last board meeting, some highlights to point out, and I'll go through that. And then we also have like a theme this year about building a bridge to the future and focusing on sustainability and helping people move through that adoption journey and the contribution journey. And so we have different campaigns with metrics and milestones identified for each of those different areas of work. And we report them out here. So something's going great, something's a little, we got one more quarter to tighten up a few things. But I just want to walk you through. I know I'm going too fast for you to actually read all of this, but I just want you to see what's in our board packet. And they are found afterwards. I do a blog post on the Drupal Association blog section, and we also publish it at drupal.org/association/board. So everything will be out about this meeting along with the recordings. And well, I'm going to take a few days off DrupalCon, then I'll do it. So with that said, let me just go over some highlights. So as I mentioned, we have had this theme about building a bridge to the future, focusing on sustainability and helping people through adoption and the contribution journey. So let me just talk about a few highlights. So for sustainability, we have there, so as a nonprofit in the US, you have to fill out paperwork that explains your financials called a 990. That goes to the federal government, and then we have to publish that. And so you do that every year. It's a long process. So we have 2016 is completed, and we're getting ready to publish it. And what we found is publishing it is transparent, right, Tiffany? We know it's transparent. It shows all of this information about the money spent and the money earned in 2016, but it's not very clear what the heck it means. So we've been working with our virtual CFO, the company's called Summit CPA, on what's called a weather report. And it provides more like insightful charts to really understand where the money is coming from, the different revenue programs that we have, as well as the expenses and what they're paying for, programs, staff, you know, things like that. And then you can also look at the different programs to understand how much money is going into each program and also what the margins are for the programs. And we think that can help people that, you know, some people go into the 990s and get this snapshot of a DrupalCon and say, wait, you spent $1 million, you lost $1 million, right? It's like the snapshot of time of a year, but a DrupalCon's 2 years. So it might just be showing how much we've spent, but it may not have shown the ticket sales that you have accrued. So it's like a 1 year snapshot doesn't always show the full picture of our programs. So it's just one of our things, you know, obviously we've done the community discussions with Whitney Hess, and out of it has come a list of areas that we can better serve the community, give more clarity and insight. So this is one of our ways of saying, I hear you, and we are definitely working on trying to make things more clear for you. So another thing about sustainability, there's a lot that we're doing in terms of our programs, but one I just wanted to call out is a membership campaign, which is run by Liz Trudeau, who is not here with us, but she has done an amazing job with our individual and organization membership. It's one of the programs that funds the DA specifically. It helps with the community cultivation grants and the DrupalCon scholarships and Drupal.org. And so it's, you know, it's an important kind of program because it connects the community to our mission, very much a feel-good kind of program. And she ran, you know, the revenue was a little bit, you know, we wanted to shore it up a little bit more. And so she ran our certificate program and brought in $9,000 higher than what we even anticipated. And what's so great about this program is that you get a certificate that says you're a member, and people love it. And then they take a picture with it and they tweet it, so then you get some social media love, and it's just a nice thing. But I just wanted to call out the good work of Liz. So lots more that I can do as a recap at the end of the year on the sustainability front. When we released the 990s for 2016, and just, you know, there's much more I could be saying, but I'm just mindful of time. And then on the adoption front, the last board retreat talked about the Baltimore landing, I'm sorry, the Baltimore DrupalCon, and we just had a lot of great success doing what's called business summits, or not business summits, but like summits that are verticals. So we had government summit, higher ed summit, things like that. And I bring this out just because I know a lot of people in the business community here would like to know what's happening in the US. So I'm telling you that was really successful, and something maybe we should look at here as well. We can talk some more about that. And then we also talked last time about the industry pages, and I highlighted that on Tuesday. And so the one that we have now is Drupal Healthcare, and it's telling the story, the power of Drupal. And you know, it talks about just high-level stats, but then the real thing is to draw them to case studies. So whoever's coming to the page and wants to learn to learn more can find out some real-world studies, and also be linked to companies that know how to deliver in this industry. And so it has a lead form. We had GE just come through here, GE Healthcare, you know, so some good names coming through here. It's in the early phases. We've been working with partners who are helping to sponsor this work. And that's how they're getting their case study on, as recognition for funding this work. And obviously they're getting some value with the leads, but we've been going through an iterative process. And so we're gonna see changes coming soon, and you know, it'll continue to be a partnership because we really wanna help people understand how to go through this adoption journey on Drupal.org and find businesses and help them be successful, because in the end, they're the ones that are hiring the developers who are contributing. So it's like, got to take care of the whole flow, right? And so one thing we did change, and this is more, you might think this is small, but I'm gonna brag about it. So we changed the front page a year ago, and you know, in the past, it was hard to make changes, both technically on Drupal.org as we were taking it over, but also we just never really knew who owned what, and it was a little awkward relationship with the DA taking over Drupal.org, and we'd be like, can I put this thing here? Ah, you know, there's a little of that, or like, yeah, sure, I don't care. You know, we went through the whole process, but the front page, we all decided we can work with, but we try to be very mindful about making changes. But because of that back and forth with the community trying to figure out what we, where they need to be informed, where they don't really need to, where they don't care, it's helped us understand how to go faster, right? And one area where we went fast, which I think is great, is right here. So build solutions with Drupal. Doesn't sound like this big deal. It's just a panel, right? Just some words with a link that takes you to the industry pages. What was neat was we met with one of our industry page sponsors, who's your company, your CMO, and he's like, hey, you know, it's like it really needs to have more presence above the fold. Right, so we had this right here, and he's like, you know, we need some more. So we quickly moved out what was there. It was kind of dated anyhow, and we just put this in. It was like 1 week we had the request, and a day we had the change, and then the National Park Service gave us a lead a few days later. Right, so it's just nice to know we're iterating and working together and figuring out how to work together and making the right changes. So it's just an example of, I think we're in a good place. Yeah. Also, sometimes when you hear people's needs, you can also move quickly and amplify the right message on the front page. It's all Tim. So this is all Tim. Thank you. Okay, what else can I share? So we have some interesting improvements for the contribution journey, helping people through the contribution journey, but I'm going to save that for Tim and his update. A lot of it's on Drupal, all of it's on Drupal.org. So, and then we also have been supporting the community. As you know, we've been helping the community self-organize so that they can work on community governance. And we had hired Whitney Hess to be a facilitator, mediator of discussions. And so that has completed those community discussions. She's done a webinar with her findings, which are all on Drupal.org, Drupal.org/community discussions. And then we moved to, she ended up doing a survey working with community members about what's the next steps at a governance summit. And we're kind of done with that, and the whole project, one of the things we really heard was just the need for this to start being owned by the community. So the community working group has picked this up, and George is here, and he's going to speak and tell us how they're moving the ball forward. Also, we just wanted some more positivity in the community. It was really nice. There was one day that triggered me to put out a tweet just saying, let's share some love. Like, we just needed a little love one day in the community. And then it's like, hey, tell somebody who you love and who you appreciate. And there was like this whole Twitter storm of love and appreciation, and people just, you know, pulling each other in and highlighting why they think they're great. And it was just a nice day, and we realized, like, this is what we need. We need some more of this. And Lindsay Jackson, who is in Australia, heard the call, stepped up, and she is starting the Community Spotlight again, which was originally created, I think, by WebChicks. And so it's just really nice. It was a program we had to put aside when we became a smaller organization, but it's just, you know, kind of go back to our roots. It's like, we don't have to do it all. find the right community member and let them find even better ways to make these programs live. And so she's created her own board of people, not an official board, no governance, but a group of people, and they're gonna all find community stories and start highlighting them on a regular basis. So a big thank you to Lindsay for stepping in that way. Let's see. I think that's it. Yes, I'll be talking later about DrupalCon Europe, but I think for now I will hand it over to Tim.
Okay, so I just want to give a brief update on Drupal.org and the work that the engineering team has been doing recently and just talk about what's been going on. I will try to keep it brief. An extended version of this presentation with additional information will happen tomorrow during the Drupal.org panel, which is about at the same time. So if you want more details and additional Q&A, we'll be doing it there. But first of all, I just wanted to put the faces of the team up there and thank in particular my team members, Ryan and Neil and Brendan, who's back in Portland, for all the work that they've been doing since we've become a smaller team last year, and really managed to keep delivering for the community and keep iterating on Drupal.org and keep improving everything and the tools. So I just wanted to say thanks to these guys for a minute here. We have two areas of focus as well, just like the organization as a whole, on the contribution journey and the adoption journey. Talking about the adoption journey first and some of those changes, I'll go quickly. One of the things we added is there's now a second set of case studies that come from our supporting partners and from the top contributors based on their contribution and the issue credits and things that they've received. So that we rotate those in, we individually reach out to those top contributors and see if they'd like to promote a case study on the front page of Drupal.org. Megan alluded to the new healthcare page and also an addition to the landing page for the industry pages, which now also promotes different hosting solutions for different levels and organizations. The healthcare page that we just saw a moment ago. And we recently added just a new kind of community-focused membership campaign on the download and extend page, which features stories of community members. Like Fatima has a scholarship, might be in the room, come to DrupalCon right now, and rotating through other stories and faces of the community to encourage those people who come to Drupal.org, and particularly those kind of anonymous traffic, to maybe get involved in the project. On the contribution side, talking first about the contribution credit system, there's a few different updates that we've made recently. So just because it was a bit of an administrative hassle, we now made it so that people who make commits, when they actually do the work of making a commit, it generates an automatic commit credit. And the issue below is precisely the issue to fix this weird self-directing display. So that's something we might be sprinting on Friday. But yeah, it's a new system, and it just makes it better for those committers who are, any project maintainer or our core maintainers who are doing all this work to review these patches and then finally bring them in.
To forever record that.
Commemorate that moment.
Well, I did first. Oh, it's cool.
There's a lot of companies that sponsor, not a lot, but there's companies that sponsor their employees to actually get changes in core and contributed projects. We give 0 credit for that stuff.
For doing all that work, yeah.
So this is awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to add this so that they're recognized for that work that they're doing. Another thing that we added and that we're going to be iterating on further so there's code sniffer style fix patches that are automatically generated already by the testing system to say, hey, you're missing something with coding standards. I don't know, you've got something wrong there. And we generate an automatic fix patch that could be automatically applied to the originally updated patch, could be automatically reattached to the issue and automatically tested again. So that's something that we'd like to work on, and it's going to be hopefully coming soon. The other thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to contribution credits is one of the things that we want to learn how to crack open is how to provide credit for activity that's not directly on Drupal.org. things like being a camp organizer or any of those kinds of things, right? And that's going to be a tricky problem to solve, right? We don't have an immediate solution, but we want to think about, if we can make Drupal.org an authentication endpoint, and then perhaps make campsites able to authenticate through Drupal.org users, and then maybe work out a protocol for them to push back, hey, these are our people with a role, then maybe we'd have something to record, and we could actually factor that into our contribution system. I would love to hear those ideas. Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. We also have made some adjustments related to project creation on Drupal.org, and I want to give some updates, because at the last DrupalCon we talked about how we've made the change to the project application process. We kind of opened the gates so that you can now create full projects as any kind of confirmed user, and we added a bunch of project signals. So just to put some numbers around that, and this is probably too many numbers, like I said, I'll talk more in the talk tomorrow. But what we see is there's a 58% increase in projects created in the period we measured, so that 5 months before the change and 5 months after would happen when this next column came up. There's another 450 projects created. But we also wanted to be cognizant of the fact that, right, this has an impact potentially on code quality and on security signals and things like that. So we did a little bit of measurement to see, how much is out there that now is not opted into security coverage? What's the rate of growth there, so that we can keep an eye on it and decide how best to respond if we need to respond. So we're seeing roughly, the main number here to care about is that projects without security coverage, but with stable releases and used by more than 50 sites, that grew by 0.5% in the last 5 months. So it grew a little bit, but it didn't grow as badly as it might have. So we know that we have the time to find the right solution. Yeah, the sky didn't fall. So then there's still things that we want to do to make sure that that's shored up. But yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we want to do, or that we've been doing to try and preserve Drupal's sense of code quality and security, is to provide better signals about what's, for an evaluator, about what projects they should be using. So this is what the project information section of a mature project with stable releases that's opted into security coverage looks like, versus what a project sort of still in development looks like, to give clear signals to people about what they should be using and what they may want to see. So that was some of our recent work. We also added to Composer in the extras field the information about security team coverage. So you can actually find on the command line level whether a project or even a particular version would receive coverage. And so that'll give you covered status, not covered status, or revoked status if the security team has revoked a project. So in addition to that, we've continued to make Drupal CI sort of testing improvements. I'll talk through a couple stats about testing. Testing is one of those services that the DA provides to the community that's one of the most kind of dramatic things we do, just in terms of the volume of it. So far in 2017, we've done 207,817 automated tests. 47,000, almost 48,000 of those were core tests. Almost 160,000 tests are contrib tests. D8 core tests have gone up about 14% year over year. D8 contrib tests have gone up almost 25% year over year. D7 cores declined quite a bit, as it's basically gone into sort of maintenance mode. And D7 tests have actually increased a little bit as well. There's still people working on that and using that more. So that was just interesting to see. These are full runs.
Full runs, okay.
Yeah. Like on a run of core could have 80,000 assertions inside it. Yeah, so
that's what I thought.
It keeps going.
Like that.
No. That's full runs.
That's full runs. Wow.
Yeah. So let's see here. What was that? Oh yeah. So one of the things about running all of those tests is that it's a little bit expensive. So one of the things that we did do, and we're trying to be very careful and very deliberate about this, is that we've added into the issue queue underneath the file testing area a small membership ask at the moment, because the membership dollars really do help pay for testing for the project. And we're also working with other partners who might potentially want to sponsor testing specifically for the project itself. So this is something that we're looking into. And so far, I mean, we made this change a while ago, and so far it seems like it's only been positively received. But I'm certainly happy to talk to people about it if anyone has concerns. And then another thing is just testing just keeps getting more and more feature rich. So coding standards messages are now provided in test results and just brought right in. Lastly, we're doing something interesting with how you configure your tests on the projects, which is we're creating, there's now semantic labels for, I want to test my project against the development version of core. And the reason that you want to do this is because once you check that box, when core has a 6-month release, you don't have to go in and pick the version again. It will now automatically be against whatever the current development version is for the current pre-release or the current stable, which makes the job for contrib maintainers of updating their testing significantly easier. I want to move briefly also into some infrastructure updates. So literally like the day after the last DrupalCon, we were wrapping up an RFP process to add an infrastructure vendor. So we did select Tag1 to help us with the Drupal.org infrastructure and to help provide bandwidth for our internal team to focus on feature development rather than just maintenance. So far we've done, gotten through the onboarding process, auditing of system and services, backup process audits, monitoring alerts. They've joined into our pager rotation and are slowly in the process of kind of taking that over. And we're working through updates to just all of our infrastructure systems that were getting a little bit dusty. Another note that I included, this is kind of a technical one, but it might be relevant to some folks in this room. TLS 1.0 and 1.1 will no longer work. If you have old versions of curl and wget and you've had trouble getting things from Drupal.org, that's why. It's been deprecated by the PCI Security Standards Council. So it's something that you'll need to update to be able to keep using, but it's good. It's an important change for security. Another initiative that we're working on moving forward is we're trying to reduce our PCI scope. We're going to be replacing CiviCRM as our membership management tool. We're going to be updating commerce integrations on the places that we use it and Drupal.org. And the commerce guys folks are helping us out a little bit with some modules and getting some integrations up to date for us. So. And then I want to speak very briefly about some other things that are just kind of coming up in the future. These are not necessarily strictly ordered in a particular roadmap, but they're kind of top of mind. So going through those quickly, as everyone knows, we've been working on kind of a developer tools initiative to look into potential changes for the project. We've done all sorts of evaluation and prototyping and talking with people at camps and events and cons. Today, what I can say is there isn't any single option that is a clear and obvious home run. So we know that but we do know some things, and we have some elements of a roadmap forward. So we know that we want to keep Drupal.org the home of the project, and so as part of reducing the scope of how much we could do with this, we know that we want to keep D.O project pages and issues, at least for now, especially because our issues compared to some of these tools are just a much more sophisticated tool, and they have the issue credit system and all sorts of things that are now very important to the community. But if we were to focus on things, we'd focus on the integrated code review tools, merge pull request workflows, and inline editing tools that I think are the areas of the tool set that really need modernizing. The other thing is, as we evaluate these tools, we know that Drupal has kind of a uniquely collaborative workflow with a single-threaded discussion. And so there are ways to work around the way some of these tool sets want to work that help make that possible, but we've had to experiment and prototype with that. So. And there's been some technical blockers and issues with project maturity with some of these options that we're still sort of working through. And another issue is, as we look for tools for Drupal.org, we have to acknowledge the fact that basically nothing on the table is completely open source. Most of these options have enterprise editions that are closed source solutions. And that's, everybody who uses GitHub is using a closed source platform for their open source projects. And it's an interesting thing, but something that's in our mind that we're thinking about. So in the meantime, some of the things that we do want to address while we perhaps wait for some maturity in some of these tools or look into ways to resolve some of the technical blockers is adapting the version control API that Drupal.org uses to just become a bridging solution to potentially even more than one tool set as a way of just making it possible so that we can make some of these integrations. We also want to look into, as I mentioned earlier, authentication for third-party sites and services, particularly campsites. I think it's the right time to think about this because it may affect our developer tools work. It may affect other integrations we want to pursue, and it will help empower the community, especially, again, camp organizers, and in a time when that's a really important issue while we're reimagining DrupalCon Europe for what it will be in 2019. So that's important as well. And then I just wanted to bring up as well that there's a dialogue going on right now. And by dialogue, I mean one of the classic 350 plus comments issues on Drupal.org about community chat solutions. Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of there's actually a BOF session a little bit later today about this that I'm going to be attending, but we're trying to get on the same page with the variety of concerns about finding a sort of free and open source solution for the Drupal community versus the pragmatism of what solutions people are already using versus the options of doing bridging solutions, which are kind of newly on the scene, but have privacy implications and concerns that have to be addressed. So there's a lot to work through, and we just kind of have to slow down and work through it. But I think it's an important thing to pay attention to. And it feels like reliving the early 2000s with like AOL Instant Messenger and ICQ and all this stuff coming back again. So, yes?
Can I just stop it? So the BOF for the matrix or chat and so on, the session will be at 14 in the colors. And the one for the picture of the Volcon will be at 17 hours.
Yeah. Great. And then last thing, and then I'll stop talking at you. Part of our planning for going into the next probably 6 months or so is going to be coming out of the Drupal strategy session that happens just before DrupalCon, so which is why I don't have a more formal plan around it. We're still figuring it out. But figuring out ways to amplify Dries' voice to get the word out about product direction, finding ways to amplify voices of other thought leaders and create kind of a unified and a scaling sense of that voice out to a larger community. Whatever we might need to do on the Drupal.org side to support Drupal's project focus as it relates to, you know, the headless first ideas, as it relates to what might be needed to support having JavaScript in core, as it relates to better organizing initiatives and the success that that's had so far, but maybe ways to amplify it. And whether we might need to find ways to host materials that help the ecosystem, particularly help larger players empower some smaller players in the market to be on the same message about promoting Drupal and what it's powerful for. And then, of course, all these governance discussions are happening, and it may be that those need support in some possible way on Drupal.org as well. So we want to make space to support that. Yeah. Any other questions?
It's not like a really big thing, but I noticed that the percentage of the downtime on the Drupal CI was less than the others, which is less by 0.02, so it's not a thing.
Yeah.
I was just curious, are you guys seeing any issues with like running so many tests and so many test runs? I know you said it was expensive, but is it like taxing the infrastructure?
Well, Ryan, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think the only time that ever really gets taxed is when AWS, we rely on spot requests and spot instances to kind of save money. And then occasionally, Amazon Web Services, somebody else will go in there and outbid us entirely, and we don't have any resources available at all to test. Okay. So it's in those instances where we run into a problem. But the volume test isn't a problem. And coming soon, October 2nd, AWS switches to per second billing. We'll be able to change the queue to be able to make it really rapid. There essentially won't be a waiting period for people. We'll be able to turn it on and off.
Okay. It's more like, I was curious if one reason we're calling it out is because it's being an issue.
No, mostly just because the volume and trying to just communicate how much goes into it. Yeah.
One question.
Oh, yes.
I'm just wondering, I'm the first time, I want to wrap my head around a bit on how decisions are made. For example, this big security, this project is insecure. Was there like a community discussion before, which we could participate in? Did it really hurt our distribution actually to get some customers? They say, oh, this project is insecure. It's a security company. And they said, oh, let's not go with Drupal.
Sure.
Okay. Are you guys going over that in the Drupal.org session tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in the session tomorrow. If you can make it, I think that would be good, just because I know we're in very limited time. But yeah, let's do that for sure.
When is the session?
It is noon, 11:45.
Yeah, same as here. Yeah, same room, same time tomorrow.
That's easy. Thanks, John.
Oh. So here, tomorrow, literally right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move us along. I want to get to the celebrations. So the other agenda item is DrupalCon Europe. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to read the wonderful blog series that was 24 pages by the time it was done. So lots of information for those that really wanted to fully understand what has, DrupalCon Europe. I hope that was helpful. I've gotten good feedback, which was great. That was nice to have that kind of transparency and clarity so we could all look at it together. We had BOFs yesterday as well as the Community Summit. We'll continue being available to answer the community's questions as they decide how they want to move forward. Really the ones, what I'm hearing are some key takeaways for me at least. Those in the room might say they had other key takeaways, but we'll talk about that later. One, DrupalCon's needed. Two, the business community is greatly underserved. The other communities, developer, front end, are well served. So we definitely need to look at the fact that the businesses need to be taken care of because, as I said, the businesses need business to hire the developers so they can contribute, right? We have to look at the whole ecosystem. So I just want to call out that is a gap. The other thing that's, it's not a nice to have, it is important to our community, and this is where we were heading when we tested our new concept, and that is an event that brings us all together, like all the personas, like all the people, whether you're advanced or intermediate, you need just a space where we can just bump into each other and share ideas and cross-pollinate, whether it's cross-pollinated between personas or you're cross-pollinating because you're from different countries, but it's a place where you find each other. And it's a chance for Dries and I to sit down with Miro to MD Systems to find out how we can help them keep contributing, right? Like that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have DrupalCon. However, what I'm hearing is it just needs to happen. It doesn't have to be fancy, and it's not really they want it to be special, right? It doesn't need to be cheap, but it just needs to be something that I'm hearing just have it in Greece, right? Or just have it in Portugal or places that, and in venues that locals can find that aren't a convention center. So I don't know what that means, but these are the key takeaways that I'm hearing right now. And so I want to thank some community members that are going to help me think through what, I need more ears, right? Especially because I'm in the US. So I've asked some advisors to help me be my ears here after I go back to the States. But we're going to come up with the process for how the community will submit their events. And it will have to be people that know how to run events. And I know a lot of our BOFs are a lot of people that have a lot of ideas and they want to understand. They're asking questions and they're giving me information. That's good. But obviously it's going to have to be people that know how to run events and can really pull this together, right? So we're going to give those people a clear process of what we're looking for. I need you to go and vet all the venues. I need a budget. I need a business plan. I need to make sure that whatever we do and we give this, whoever we give this to can actually pull this off, because the last thing we want to do is hurt somebody in the process, right? So we're working on that process starting today. I'll be working on the criteria as well, so people will understand how we'll make a decision. We'll make that very transparent. And then we want to make a decision this winter. So I want to just thank Alex Burrows, Batty Brightheart, who's here, Barrett Borland, Yanni Caliola, Morton, Stella Power, and Sophie Major, who will be advising me on that process. All right, an update from CWG.
Hi there. So I'm George Dumet. I'm chair of the Drupal Community Working Group, which is actually not part of the Drupal Association. We're actually chartered directly by Dries, so the group includes myself, Adam Hill, who's here, Rachel Lawson, Jordana Fung, Emma Carianis, and Mike Anello. So we help resolve conflicts within the Drupal community, hold Drupal code of conduct, and work to promote community health. If you want to learn more about what we do, come to our session on fostering community health later today. So, as Megan mentioned earlier this year, the Drupal Association hired Whitney Hess to conduct a series of conversations, both in person and virtual, to help gather feedback from members of
Keep going.
Drupal's contributor community and identify some perceived gaps in Drupal's governance model. The conversations were followed by a governance summit survey this summer that attempted to gain additional insight into how the community wanted to proceed. So the Drupal Association then shared the results of that survey with the CWG, which we in turn shared with David Hernandez, Nikki Stevenson, and Ann Bergstein. So together we all kind of did our best to analyze the results, which, as you might expect, reflected a very wide range of feelings and opinions about how the Drupal project and community is governed. We didn't feel that the survey results actually pointed to any clear or actionable next steps, but they were very consistent with the feedback that had come in from the community discussions this spring, which was that the process, in whatever form it takes, needed to be as much as possible driven by the community. It was also very clear that the clarification of leadership roles and drawing clear distinctions between project and community governance were the two topics that were most important to people who responded. So, in addition to presenting these results and participating in the discussions at the Community Summit here in Vienna on Monday, we also posted the survey results on the association blog and shared our thoughts about potential next steps. Obviously, this is going to need to be a collaborative process that involves all stakeholders, including DREES, including the Drupal Association, especially where matters of legal and financial responsibility are involved. But the first step is to create a framework so that the contributor community can participate productively in the process. And so to that end, we feel the best path forward is to create a volunteer working group that is representative of our global contributor community, and for that group to take the lead in the process of evolving Drupal community governance, rather than any existing group or individual. So what we'll be doing is holding a series of meetings over the next few weeks in the governance channel in Drupal Slack to help connect people who are interested in governance with each other, provide a forum for people to share their thoughts, and to empower the community to determine the next steps. We'll be present to facilitate those meetings and to provide whatever other support is needed, but ultimately this process needs to be driven by the community. We also want to encourage people to share their thoughts through other channels, and also feel free to reach out to one of us directly if you're not willing or able to participate publicly. This work, to be really clear, will not be quick, it will not be easy, but we feel that it is incredibly important and necessary for the sustainability of our project, for the contributor community to have a voice in the decisions that impact them. So, any questions?
No.
Anyone?
So often when you ask volunteers to do it,
yes,
it really helps to have a deadline of some kind to drive the participation, or else things just kind of, you have any kind of time frame with which you're hoping to ban. If this volunteer work group together, any particular time you're hoping for them to come together with a plan, like, you know.
The first part, November.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then everything else they'll figure out.
Everything else they'll figure out, exactly. Yep. Cool, thank you.
Great, thanks, George. All right.
Awesome. Lots of great updates. Continue to be amazed by how much Megan and the team is actually able to pull off with a relatively small team.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I know a team more passionate about Drupal than the Drupal Association. So thank you for all of the great work. All right. We also have some sad news, which is some of our board members will be leaving us soon. That's literally left already. But you know, Tiffany will also be leaving, and Jeff, unfortunately, as well. So those three people, their terms have expired or will be expiring very soon, and therefore, based on our governance model, they will roll off the board. They may maybe come back at some point, but you know, they'll be leaving the association. All three of them have had an incredible impact on the Drupal Association. Like, I cannot understate actually how much they have contributed in the evolution of the Drupal Association. They've done that each in their own way. And I just wanted to recognize them for everything they've done. They've done that on top of everything else they've done. You know, board work has only been one of many things they've done, which I think is also worthwhile to keep in mind. So thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bessa. Somewhere in the air. Yeah, to celebrate, I guess, we have some special cake.
We do, and I have one more thing I just want to say. So I also just want to recognize Rachel Friesen, who is our Director of Events, and she has chosen to take a new adventure. She's going to travel the world, and we are so excited for her to go find, explore this happiness.
Excited and jealous.
Yeah, jealous, right? But where she's going to be incredibly missed. I think one of the things that is special about the DA is we're all friends, so we're going to miss our friend. But also just some things that she's done in the 3 years in this role.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, gosh, time flies. Is, like with every product or program, it goes to its evolutionary state. But Rachel just like kicked it up into high notch. It's like super predictable when we come to DrupalCon. Honestly, I hardly even think about what's happening with DrupalCon. I just know that that Wi-Fi is going to work, and the coffee's going to be great, the foods for the sponsors are in place, and the speakers are all lined up, and right? And it's just like our conversations are like 30 minutes a day on DrupalCon. It's like she's just got it, and she's operationalized it to this level where everyone feels confident and works really well together, from vendors all the way to the staff that support her. So thank you for doing that.